The Los Angeles Rams, not that long ago, John Breech. We're in the Super Bowl. I'm Will Brinson. Ryan Wilson joining us shortly. The Rams have a lot of retooling they need to do. They're in a tough division. They got to figure out how to get Sean McVay back to that genius level. Got to get Jared Goff cooking. So let's look at some of their needs, because this is a big offseason for the Rams, kind of quietly. I think offensive line, number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, whatever you want to talk about, is the offensive line is the issue for the Rams. They are locked into Jared Goff. They're locked into Todd Gurley. Say what you want about the running back position, but they have Darrell Henderson there, Malcolm Brown, whatever. And then wide receiver, Robert Woods, Brandon Cooper Kupp. They have a lot of talent at those positions. Gerald Everett and Tyler Higbee are guys who you look at in terms of offense. They have the skill position guys, but the offensive line breach is a major problem. Once it fell off a cliff, the Rams' offense fell off a cliff too. When Jared Goff wasn't protected, he struggled. They couldn't run the ball, so they couldn't do play action as well as they wanted to. And clearly, teams kind of figured out what exactly Sean McVay and Jared Goff are trying to do. Would you argue there's anything more they need than offensive line?
No, absolutely. Offensive line is the biggest need for the Rams. You look at their 2018 Super Bowl run. You know what they had? They had continuity on the offensive line. They had the same starters, same 5 starters for nearly the entire season. That did not happen in 2019, where it was just the offensive line was a jumbled mess, which in turn Jared Goff was a jumbled mess, which in turn the offense was a jumbled mess. But I also do think one of their issues was that they've got to figure out the Todd Gurley situation. Obviously, his knee was the whole talk of the 2018 last offseason, and look, they limited his carries. It was pretty clear early in the season they didn't want to wear him out. Well, if you don't make the playoffs, there is no holding Todd Gurley for the playoffs. So they need to just decide if he can handle a full season's load, because I do think that helps make the offensive line better when Gurley's working at his best. So, yeah, figure out the Todd Gurley situation, and that offensive line needs some help, whether it's in free agency or in the draft.
Just figure out that pesky Todd Gurley situation. Yeah, sounds good. Defensively, I think it's a much bigger ball of wax to deal with. Wade Phillips out as defensive coordinator. That's a huge deal. You're retooling your entire defense. Jalen Ramsey, who they gave up multiple first-round picks for, they have to give him an extension to figure out how they want to handle his situation. Dante Fowler, a free agent. Michael Brocker's a free agent. There's a lot to deal here, Breech. What are your biggest needs on the defensive side of the ball for the Rams in 2020?
Yeah, if you're the new defensive coordinator now that Wade Phillips out, you're walking into a thunderstorm. This is not a great situation to be going into. The Rams' defense in 2019 wasn't as dominant as it was in 2018, and you have a lot of decisions that have to be made as soon as you walk in there before free agency starts in mid-March, because decision number 1, do you re-sign Jalen Ramsey? I think the answer to that is yes, because you gave up so much in that trade. You gave up first-round picks to land Jalen Ramsey. You cannot let him walk this soon. So you have to get a contract done with him. Number 2, do you re-sign Dante Fowler? I think that's another guy you do need to re-sign, because he's such a big part of that pass rush. He makes Aaron Donald better. He makes that whole entire Rams defense better. And you also have Michael Brockers at linebacker. It's another guy that they have to figure out whether or not they're going to re-sign. So look, we're already in mid-January. The Rams have less than 2 months to make these decisions. They have a lot of key free agents they have to decide whether or not to re-sign. And their defense is being completely overhauled because they're going to have a new defensive coordinator. So this is a huge offseason for the Rams defense.
It sure is, and it's a pretty, I don't want to say big offseason for the draft, because the Rams actually don't have any draft picks available until 2034. If they did, let's throw it to Ryan Wilson and find out who they might target with those draft picks.
So the Rams don't have a first-round pick in 2020 or 2021, but what they do have is cornerback Jalen Ramsey, and the expectations are going to be high for him to play at a high level given what he costs to get. We'll see if that happens, but what the Rams do need, and they do have a second and third-round pick, they need some offensive line help. We saw Jared Goff struggle throughout the year. A lot of that had to do with the inconsistencies and injuries along the offensive line. So what do? I would start drafting offensive linemen early and often. I would start with Josh Jones out of Houston, the offensive tackle. Really good season. Not much talked about because he was playing at Houston. Incredibly athletic, and there's a lot to like with him there. Tyler Biadasz out of Wisconsin can play center. He can probably kick out the guard too. Those are 2 guys I would target in rounds 1 and 2, if we're being honest. Immediately upgrade the O-line and move from there. But if you're looking for help along the defensive line, Alton Robinson out of Syracuse, really great 2018 season. Less so in 2019, but he has the athleticism. He's a big guy to make plays off the edge. And finally, if you're looking to shore up the middle of that defense, look no further than Malik Harrison, who could be a day 2 pick out of Ohio State. Solid player, He's not the prototypical 6'3", 235 linebacker we've seen in recent years. He's more of an old school guy, but he can thump you and he can cover tight ends and running backs, and he can be a difference maker in the middle of that defense. And that's something the Rams certainly need as they look forward to 2020.
Want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.